Senator Cruz, thank you so much for receiving us here in your office.
It's great to be with you. Thanks for coming.
You're one of the most prominent Republican politicians with Hispanic roots. Mm-hmm. What do you think the party needs to do to keep building support among the Hispanic community?
Well, we are the party of jobs and we're the party of opportunity. Mm-hmm. Look, I think the Hispanic community is a fundamentally conservative community. Mm-hmm. If you look at the values that resonate in our community, faith, family, patriotism. A lot of people don't know Hispanics have the highest rate of military enlistment of any demographic in this country. And right at the core of it is the American dream. The desire, your family, my family came to America seeking a better life. Mm-hmm. My father came to Texas in 1957, and he was fleeing Cuba. My father had been imprisoned. He was tortured in Cuba as a teenager. And when he arrived in Texas, he was 18 years old. He couldn't speak English. He had $100 in his underwear. Mm-hmm. And his first job was washing dishes, making 50 cents an hour. But he was admitted to the University of Texas. He worked full-time. He went to school full-time. He went on to start a small business. Today, my dad's a pastor. Mm-hmm. That is the American dream. That's who our community is. And I will tell you, this last election in Texas, my reelection was a massive battle. It was a $250 million race, over $250 million spent in the race. I was Chuck Schumer's number one target in the country. They threw everything they could at us, and at the end of the day, I won by 9% statewide, 1 million votes statewide, and what I'm really proud of is I carried Hispanic statewide by 6 points. That is unprecedented. You look at the Rio Grande Valley. The Rio Grande Valley has been bright blue. It has been Democrat for 100 years. Donald Trump carried the valley, and I carried the valley. That is transformational, and it's because we're the party of jobs, and we're the party that represents the values that resonate in the Latino community.
Let me also ask you about Latin America. Mm-hmm. Do you think the White House is truly committed to helping free the region of authoritarianism, from Cuba or Venezuela? Mm-hmm. And for specifically on Venezuela, should the White House continue to support Maria Corina Machado as the leader of the opposition?
So look, I think President Trump has been a powerful voice for freedom across the globe. Mm-hmm. And I think if you compare the Trump presidency to the Biden presidency, the Trump presidency, President Trump has stood with our friends and allies and has stood up to our enemies. Importantly, mm-hmm. our enemies are terrified of Donald Trump. They're terrified of a strong commander-in-chief. If you look at Biden, the Biden administration turned that on its head. It flipped it backwards, where they were terrible friends to our allies. Mm-hmm. And Joe Biden and the Democrats were weak and engaged in appeasement to our enemies. And so you look throughout Latin America. Brazil, Bolsonaro, strong, pro-American, wanted to stand with America, the largest country in all of Latin America, tilting towards the United States. That was unequivocally good. What happened, Biden came in, did everything they could to undermine Bolsonaro because they wanted instead Lula, an anti-American leftist who hates this country. That was bad for Latin America, it was bad for Brazil, and it was bad for the United States. Same thing in Colombia. Colombia, Ivan Duque, friends with America, pivoting towards America, defending freedom. The Biden administration came in, undermined Duque at every stage. You now have Petro, again, another anti-American leftist who hates our country. Mm-hmm. That was unequivocally bad for the United States, but also unequivocally bad for Colombia. You look at Venezuela, Maduro is a dictator. He is oppressive. He is illegitimate. And the Biden administration wouldn't stand up to him. I think the Trump administration does a much more effective job of standing up to Maduro, standing up to the communist regime in Cuba. And I believe we should be a voice for freedom. And I think President Trump is unequivocally better for Latin America than the Biden administration is.
And what about Maria Corina Machado as the leader of the opposition of Venezuela?
Look, I don't think it's America's position to pick the leader of the opposition, to pick who the next leader is. It should be our position to say Maduro is illegitimate. Mm-hmm. Maduro has been rejected by the people. Maduro is a dictator, and Maduro is an enemy of America. He's an enemy of the people of Venezuela, but he's also an enemy of America. at the end of the day, the next leader should be chosen by the voters in Venezuela, not the United States. And so that's the direction I would go in.
Senator, your interview with Tucker Carlson got a lot of attention. What explanation do you find to his attitude towards you?
Well, listen, unfortunately, there is a growing number of isolationists in the Republican Party and across the country who want America to withdraw from the world, to not lead in the world, to hide behind two gigantic oceans. And that interview, I knew the interview would be contentious. I've known Tucker a long time. I agree with Tucker on about 80% of the issues, but I think on foreign policy, the guy's gone nuts. He's just gotten really extreme. And I did the interview because I wanted to take on those ideas, because I think what he is arguing for is wrong. So we did the interview. It was right before President Trump bombed Iran and took out their nuclear weapons capability. And Tucker was loudly saying, if the United States bombs Iran, it will cause World War III, thousands of Americans will die, and astonishingly, he said, and America will lose. Iran will beat America in World War III. Now, every word of that turned out to be laughably, absurdly wrong. Every prediction he made was false. And President Trump was absolutely correct to stand strongly with Israel, to stand up to Iran, to order that bombing raid. And to be clear, President Trump did not invade Iran. He didn't send soldiers to the ground. He ordered a bombing raid that was incredibly successful. Why? Because Iran was trying to develop nuclear weapons to use them against the United States. The Ayatollah regularly leads mobs chanting death to America and death to Israel. And President Trump is a strong commander-in-chief who's not going to sit idly by while a theocratic madman develops nuclear weapons and is threatening to use them to murder millions of Americans. And so I did the interview because Trump was right and Tucker was wrong. And I thought it was important to make that case that we need strong American leadership in the world. I think President Trump's foreign policy has been exactly right. And I think those that have been attacking and criticizing President Trump, like Tucker Carlson, that they've been wrong. And their view, Tucker's view, is much closer to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's on foreign policy than it is to President Trump. And I think Biden and Harris withdrew from the world. That was a mistake. And President Trump, we again have a strong American president.
And are you concerned about this rise of this isolationist position within the Republican Party?
I am, and that's why I agreed to do the interview, because I knew it would be contentious, but I think it's worth engaging on the facts. And look, it's easy to oversimplify. Some people view the Republican Party as there are only two possibilities. You're either an interventionist or you're an isolationist. And the interventionist, it seems, have never seen a country they didn't want to invade. Their solution is always send the Marines. That's a mistake. I am not an interventionist and I'm not an isolationist. I consider myself a third point on the triangle. I am a non-interventionist hawk. And by the way, I think that is exactly where President Trump is. And I think that's exactly where Ronald Reagan is. Ronald Reagan referred to it as peace through strength. In 8 years, the biggest country Reagan ever invaded was Grenada. He didn't invade foreign countries. But what he also did is built our military strong enough that he won the Cold War and defeated the Soviet Union without firing a shot. Likewise, President Trump has proven very adept at getting us out of war. I don't want to engage in forever wars. I would have strongly opposed any plan to invade Iran, particularly to try to produce democracy in Iran. That's not our military's job. Our military's job is to protect American citizens and keep us safe. That's what President Trump did. And I think that's where the vast majority of Americans are. They want a strong president who will keep our country safe, but they don't want to see just military adventurism, invading country after country after country. And sadly, that's where far too many Democrats and Republicans have been in previous years.
So the last question, and I wanted to add with education. I know you're deeply concerned about it.
Yes.
You have often said that school choice is a civil rights issue of the 21st century. Would you explain that to the average voter to understand?
School choice, I think, is fundamental. If you look at your kids, my kids, education is the key to achieving the American dream. It is the pathway to achieving prosperity, to having a hope to achieve everything that our kids want to achieve. I think of my dad, we talked a minute ago about it.
Mm-hmm.
When he came to Texas, he had nothing. Education opens up opportunity, and there are far too many kids in this country right now who are trapped in failing schools. And they are disproportionately low-income kids, and they're disproportionately African American and Hispanic. And the Democrat Party for years has said to those African American and Hispanic kids, tough luck. We're not going to do anything to give you hope. We're not going to do anything to help you. And school choice, I believe school choice is the civil rights issue of the 21st century because it's how you help people get out of poverty. It's how you help people get out of failing schools and get an excellent education. I think every child in America deserves access to an excellent education, regardless of their race, their wealth, or their zip code. And I will tell you one of the great, great victories of the one big beautiful bill that President Trump signed into law on July 4th is it includes a provision that I wrote that is the most far-reaching federal school choice provision ever written. It gives a tax credit for contributions to scholarship-granting organizations in the states. And I'll tell you, the result of this is going to be billions and billions of new scholarship dollars that are going to go to low-income kids in Texas, many of them Latino, many of them African American, giving them hope. And it's kids K through 12, giving them ability to choose an excellent education. That's going to help all the kids that get those scholarships.
Yeah.
But it's also going to help everyone else also, because we now know when school choice, when parents are given the ability to choose, that competition improves the public schools. And so this, I believe 10, 20, 30 years from now, we will look back at this school choice provision that I wrote and that is in this bill as the single most important and far-reaching provision in the entire bill.
Thank you so much, man.